beefs you want to get out of the way first?
I mean, a small beef that's maybe not much to it is, but because I experience this all the time when I take over tanks and, clients are giving me the reins to their tank. But, I guess I'm a member of the Tang police because I love Tangs, but I'm against having a bunch of them in a tank. And sometimes, people say, oh, I have a Naso Tang and a Red Sea Purple Tang and a Zebra or a Yellow Tang and a Cold Tang. And I'm like, that's too many tangs. And they'll say, they're getting along. And no, I don't want to be a naysayer because, sometimes something like that can get along for a long time. But what I see when I take over a tank and start cleaning it and I keep that system for years, you got to remember that these things become mature. And then when they become like, I don't want to say emotionally mature, but whatever, more mature, their attitudes about their environment changes. And what I watch is this 3 pairs of tangs that had always gotten along for a long time tear each other up and get head and lateral line erosion and ragged fins and all this stuff. So I guess the thing that I want to say is like that's fine. You could run that experiment if you want to load your tank up with tangs, but just current behavior does not portend future behavior. Or fish getting along, multiple tangs getting along when they're younger and smaller doesn't mean that they're not going to rip the hell out of each other later down the road. That's all.
Yeah. Here's, thinking a lot about reef tanks and what are they and why do we have them? Why do people have them? And what are people's plans and what do they think? And, the idea, because, my tank is like now on like years trajectory, like I had to change a bunch of stuff around. And it's back in and I don't quite like it. And I'm just going to have to put up with it for 6 months till it grows in, it's just takes time and people don't really want that, I think. So at the beginning, in like aquascape, I was talking somewhere about aquascaping and, you make your rocks look really good, but after you put your coral in 6 months, you don't see any rocks anymore.
Oh,
right?
Totally.
So, but what are you going to do? That's why we don't have like great, like a mono style saltwater tanks. We're limited in the amount of stuff we can use. And our stuff just takes too long to grow to fill in.
But not every single coral is easy to manicure either.
Right. And they're also structure building, whereas plants cover the structure, corals make the structure. So you make your aquascape to make the tank look good to your eye, but that might not have anything to do with how the tank's going to look once the corals grow in it, right? But it's hard to look at a tank, that's just rocks and, 5 or 6 frags for a year. So It's the same with fish. People just want to put a ton of crap in there. And I am with you. I think it's worse with fish because nothing stays the same over time in a saltwater tank. Everything grows and changes and is probably going to end up fighting with something else.
I guess what brings this on is because I do have a client tank where I took it over because I don't. I think that powder blue tangs are neat and I think powder brown tangs are neat, but I don't keep them. I don't put them into aquariums
because they're dicks.
Yeah. This tank, it's not huge. It's like 130 gallons, but it's more vertical rather than horizontal. And it has a real pretty purple tang, a real pretty yellow tang, and it's got this powder brown. Well, just over time of me cleaning it, again, I didn't put those in there. And the powder brown, they've just gotten more mature. The powder brown's been freaking out, and he's really it's not eroding yet, but all this white patch started coming up all down his line, and the lady's like, what is it? What is it doing? And I was like, and I sit, I clean it before I clean and after clean. I sit far back and I'll feed sometimes and then get far back and watch what's going on. And the powder brown is just freaking the fuck out. And it's just, I know why he's starting to get this head and lateral line erosion. And there's nothing, I can't catch him out of there. Nothing, Yeah.
So Ben says he gets real far back. He's doing that to get a view of what goes on in the tank without his influence. If you're standing by the tank, the fish and the animals in the tank know you're there. And so what Roy Caldwell used to do to photograph octopuses and stomatopods, which I thought was the coolest thing, and I stole it immediately. So he took a big piece of cardboard, black cardboard, and cut out a hole for the lens, put that in front of the tank, and now nothing in the tank see him, and he can take great pictures.
Yeah, because otherwise you wonder, that's always been my thing. I wonder, like, what are they doing performative for me? And I don't want them, I want them to act like when no one's standing in front of the tank so I can see what they do.
Yeah, and so you saw that this tank, this
just freaking the fuck out about everything.
You know, I think what happens, people think tangs are good so they should get more tanks because they eat algae. Maybe we hate
each other.
Maybe we need to change that. You need just like 1 or 2 tangs. If you've got a giant aquarium that's like 100,000 gallons, you can have a school of tangs. Otherwise, in 2 years, you're just gonna have problems or stressed out animals, and then you're gonna have to rehome them, and that always sucks.
But I always wonder too, because I'm not being a total doomsayer, but as you do see and hear of tank, like, oh, well, I've got this tank. You see pictures on the internet, and it's got 12 tanks in it. But I'm not trying to be too cynical, but like, I always want to talk to those people like a year later, like whatever happened with that, because I just don't buy it in the long run.
Well, you would get that with octopuses a lot, or with cuttles as well.
It's working now.
Yeah, can I have other fish in there? It's like, no, not really. Well, it's working. And it's like, so that the phrase that I came up with was it works till it doesn't.
Till it doesn't. Yeah.
And it's really weird that we do that with animals. I guess some people do that with dogs, right? I'm going to get 6 dogs and then I'm going to get rid of 4 of them when they're all big. I don't know. I don't know why.
But and then when you mix it with social media, you see this snippet of, look, I did this and it's working. And like I said, that's a snapshot. So what you don't see is you don't talk to that person a year later. And it's like, oh man, all those tanks just fell the hell out and it was nasty. Mark
Levinson has one of those yellow Diogorgias, the yellow Gorgonian with the white polyps.
Yeah.
And so I was like, how long have you had it? And he was like 3 months. And then a little while later, I was like, how's it doing? He's like, it's still doing really great. Look at it in 6 months. I was like, I'll talk to you in 3 months.
I feel like even if you're doing a good job, I feel like on those, you could probably pull off a year. If you're going past a year, I'm just not buying it.
Yeah. So when he at 9 months, if he goes, look, it's still doing okay, I'll go 3 more months. Yeah. If you get 3 more months, actually 6 more months, I'll be really impressed.